So I want to tell you just a little bit about why we decided to do this program. So to start with, we last summer in one of our Taking Mate kits decided to give you all maple syrup. I don't even remember why, but we gave you maple syrup. And then we went, we have lots of maple syrup left. What are we going to do with it? And I'm like, when does maple syrup run? So we looked it up, because that's what librarians do. And it was the end of February, early March. And so we're like, let's figure out a program. So Miss Suzanne went looking for all of these fun projects, and we got it all put together, and then we said, we don't have enough maple syrup. So Miss Kimberly had to buy more maple syrup so that we could send you all of the fun packets of maple syrup. So we have lots of super fun activities today, and we are going to start with Miss Suzanne, who's going to give a story, give some facts, and then we'll go from there. All right, Miss Suzanne.
Hi everybody. Okay, so like you said, heard from Miss Kimberly, we have some fun maple syrup things going on today. I had a lot of fun with this program. I wasn't quite sure what was going to become of it when Miss Kimberly said, let's do a maple syrup program. But we came up with some fun things and some yummy stuff too, because maple syrup is a fun thing to eat on pancakes or waffles, all those fun things. But first, let's find out about how maple syrup is made, because it doesn't just magically appear in those fun jars that you get. You know, we have fun jars of maple syrup like this. It's fun, but it doesn't just magically appear in there. It's actually made. It actually comes from trees. I don't know if you guys knew that. So you're actually drinking tree water, so to speak. Okay, so we're going to start with a book called Maple Syrup Season. And I'm not going to read the whole book. I'm going to read parts of it, and then later on when we do another one of the activities, we'll read another part of it. Okay, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit. We're going to start here. It is the time the Brockwell family comes together to make maple syrup. Sap's rising. So the sap is rising, so that means the cold nights and warm days are making it so the sap comes up out of the tree. So Grandpa drills a hole and hammers in the spout. He hangs a bucket. The first plunk of sap hits the metal bottom. Sap's rising, Grandpa shouts. The family cheers and claps mittened hands. I don't know if you guys can see, there's a little spout and a bucket, and the sap is dripping into the bucket. Grandpa, the uncles, and Dad all drill holes. Two bigger cousins follow and clean out the holes with twigs. Grandma, Aunt Hattie, and Mom hammer in spouts. Hannah and Hayden hang buckets while three younger cousins put hats on them. So here's a bucket. Here's this hole that they're drilling. They're cleaning out the holes. They're putting on the spouts. The buckets go on, and then these little triangle things are the hats. And the hats keep out things like twigs and pine cones or any other like debris that would fall from the sky. The sun fades as the last bucket and hat are hung. If there is a warm sunshine, the buckets will fill with sap in a day or two. If the wind blows freezing air and the sky is thick with clouds, it will take longer. I'll keep an eye on the buckets, Grandpa says. Grandma will telephone when it's time to take the sap to the sugar house. 3 days later, the buckets brim with clear sap and the family is back at Grandpa's sugar bush. Mom and Aunt Hattie prepare the sugar house. See the deer look in the sap? Animals like sap, and even squirrels like sap. So maybe our friend Doreen will visit us today too. Maybe we can learn about sap from Doreen. Dad helps the uncles pour sap from the tree buckets into gathering buckets and then into a giant barrel on the sled. So they're taking all the buckets and pouring that sap into these really big barrels. Even the horse likes the sap. Uncle John leads the horse to the sugar house. It takes all of the grown-ups together to tip the barrel. So they're tipping the barrel and out pours all the sap. A stream of sap flows down the gutter to a storage-like tank. From the storage tank, sap now pours into the evaporating pans. Flames shoot up from the firebox and lick the bottoms of the pans. So they're pouring the sap into these pans, and underneath is this fire. The sap bubbles and pops as it boils. Boiling sap must be watched very carefully. Not enough heat and it will not turn into syrup. Too much heat and the sap will burn or even explode. Uncle Fred's job is to feed the fire. Grandpa tests the temperature. Dad and Uncle John take turns skimming the sap to remove the dirt and bark. Okay, Grandpa says it's sheeting. Hooray, hooray. Hannah's and Hayden's cheeks are mapley red. The temperature in the finishing pan creeps to 218 degrees Fahrenheit. Grandpa whoops, it's sheeting. The children cheer. Hooray, the sap is now syrup. So basically, they take the sap out of the trees, or gather the sap out of the trees, and they put it into buckets, and then they take the buckets and they put it over a fire and cook it down. They like heat it, but a slow boil, so to speak, and then it turns into syrup. So we're gonna do our first craft. We're gonna make our first craft, which is the little tree with the maple bucket, maple sap syrup bucket. Sap bucket. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. So, you guys all got a paper towel tube and a Keurig cup. What we're gonna make looks like this. I painted mine earlier, so that way it would be ready to go. So, you're gonna wanna take your paper towel tube and some scissors, and you're gonna wanna make like branches. I'm just cutting some different shapes right into my paper towel tube. And cut all the way around. Okay, I got some branches. I'm gonna kind of fold those out. Make it look like a tree. Okay. So once I have my tree all cut, you also got in your kit 3 little dots of glue dots. They came on a little piece of wax paper. You're gonna want to take all 3 of those and kind of stick them together to make one big one. They're really sticky. And I put mine on my K-cup about 1/3 of the way down from the lip. I made it kind of like a little ball, so it's really sticky. Okay? And you're just going to take that and stick it to your tree. Just like that. And then you have a syrup bucket on your maple tree. All right, so now I'm going to see if Doreen's around, and maybe she can come on and talk to us a little about syrup. Doreen, are you here yet?
Oh, Miss Suzanne! Oh, Miss Suzanne, I'm here!
Oh, yeah.
I brought my buckets.
You got your sap
I
bucket?
did so I can collect some sap.
Are you going to collect sap?
I am.
Yay! What do you know about syrup?
I know syrup comes from maple trees.
It comes from maple
Yes,
trees,
yes.
yep.
But did you know, it's in North America, but mostly the Midwest and the upper eastern states.
So the upper eastern states in the Midwest is where maple syrup is usually, would we say, harvested?
Yeah. And so,
Okay.
back here in Colorado, but you see, I have a cousin.
You have a
I have a
cousin?
cousin, his name is Tom.
She has a cousin named Tom. Where does Tom live?
He lives in Vermont.
Vermont.
Yes,
Oh, I
yes,
bet you they.
Yeah, he's a red squirrel.
A red squirrel.
Yeah, red squirrels are a
Red
little
squirrel.
different. They're a little different from the brown
So
squirrels.
you're a brown squirrel, and so
Yeah.
Tom would be red.
Tom is red, yeah.
Okay.
And so, what they do, they like to eat maple syrup, Miss Suzanne.
Oh,
Did you know that?
no, I did not know that.
So they scratch at the tree bark, like, they scratch at the tree bark until the sap comes out. And then
Okay.
they let it dry.
So they scratch at the tree bark,
Uh-huh.
and the sap comes out.
Yeah.
They let it
They
dry.
let it dry, and when it's dry, they eat it. Well,
I did not know that.
yeah, and after the eat it gives them energy. Kind of like coffee. You know how that works, Miss Suzanne?
Miss Suzanne does know how that works.
Miss Suzanne likes a coffee. She
Yes, I
really
do.
does. Yeah.
So Miss Doreen, did you know that it takes 40 of these full of sap
Oh my goodness.
to make 1 of these of syrup?
Wow. I'm going to need some more buckets, Miss Suzanne.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
So 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. That's a lot. So because this is only 1, you need 39 more.
Did you know, Miss Suzanne, in the East Coast in New York, they actually have a maple syrup museum?
There's a maple syrup museum?
Right?
I did not know that.
I don't think Tom's made it there yet, but
Well, maybe
sometime soon you can go visit Tom, and then you can go to the Maple Syrup Museum.
Yeah, a little cultural experience.
Cultural experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Doreen, did you know that maple syrup is actually a mistake? It wasn't like somebody decided to make maple syrup. It was actually like a discovery.
A mistake?
Yeah.
Isn't it good when mistakes turn out
It is.
good?
So I'm going to read a little bit about this to Miss Doreen because I want to get my facts just right.
Okay, I'm gonna sit there in my bucket.
Yeah, you can sit down in your bucket.
Okay.
Okay. So the history of maple syrup goes back many centuries, a long time ago. There's a legend about its discovery. The story says Chief Waxus in Iroquois left the camp one day in early March for a day of hunting. As he left, he pulled his tomahawk from the maple tree where he had left it the night before. During the day, the sap had dripped down and filled up a vessel like a bucket or a bowl that was underneath the tomahawk. Okay? When the evening came, his wife, or the chief's squaw, noticed the tree water in this bowl. She decided to cook it and use it while she was making the evening meal, making dinner. And the chief liked the maple flavored water. The maple flavored water made the food taste so good that the chief loved it, and they continued to do it. And that's supposed to be how maple syrup was originally discovered. So it was a mistake. If the chief had accidentally left his tomahawk over in a tree, in a maple tree, it has to be a maple tree, over a bowl, they would have never corrected the tree water, the sap.
That is so cool.
Isn't that so cool?
So cool.
So cool.
I'm so glad you did that.
Okay, is there anything else we need to know?
I don't think so, Suzanne, but thank you so much for sharing
Oh,
with me.
thank you too.
Yeah.
Thank you too. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, we'll see you later, Miss Doreen.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is Miss Kimberly's gonna come on and do our next craft. I don't think she needs any of these things, so I'm just gonna kind of scooch them out of the way. And we'll see you guys back here in a little bit. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, everyone. We're gonna do a fun and sticky craft. Now, the first thing you should know is that Miss Kimberly doesn't like sticky fingers, so it's really funny that she's the one doing this one. But we are going to finger paint with our maple syrup. Isn't that cool that we can do that? So, you all have a couple of these little packs. You should have 3 or 4 of them in your kits. And you're going to use them for all the different activities that are coming up. So you might start maybe with 1 for your paint, but also I'll bet you have maple syrup at home if you want to add some more. So I have already mixed up some of my paint. I did some green and some yellow, and then I just want to show you how it works. So here in my clear cup, that is the color of my maple syrup, right? So it's kind of brown. So you might be surprised at what color you actually get when you mix your colors. It might be just a little bit different than you expect. So I'm going to add just a little bit of blue. I'm going to put a couple of drops in there. And then we're going to stir it up. And hopefully you guys can see that my maple syrup has now turned blue. So who knew that you could add food coloring and get colored maple syrup? So this, I'm going to show you, this is kind of what it looks like when it's done, and it does dry just a little bit sticky. Not too bad, but you might bear that in mind. Now, Miss Suzanne, when she first tried this, she tried to use a paintbrush, and it did not work very well because it was too sticky. So Miss Kimberly is going to do it with her fingers. Now, I did bring a little water in case it's a little bit too thick or sticky, but we're going to try. Let's see what Miss Kimberly can do. I'm going to start with some yellow. You guys probably can't see this very well, but I'll hold it up as I do it. But I gotta have it a little bit flat to see. Oh, here, I'll move that out of the way too so you can see. So I'm just kind of swirling it on there, and I am making a sun. So I'm going to give it just a couple of rays. All right, so you can see I have a sun. All right, now I am going to use I didn't think about the fact that I'm getting sticky all over the table for everyone else. I'm going to use my green, and I am going to try to make some mountains. Let's see how well I can get the mountains on there. Right. The other thing you should know is Miss Kimberly is not an artist, so don't judge the mountains. All right. So what I did is kind of outline them here. Now I'm going to fill them in a little bit since I have lots of green. And I'm finding that this little swirly motion, if you can see what my fingers are doing, is a great way to get it in there. Because swooping it is a little harder, making those straight lines. But kind of swirling it on there is working really well. And you don't have to make a picture. If you just want to swirl it on there like Miss Suzanne did, that's awesome too. All right, so what do you think? Do they look like mountains, guys? Yeah, you see my mountains and my sun? Very nice. All right, now we are going to take some blue that we just made here all together. And I'm going to do a sky. So I'm going to do that swirly and make a nice blue sky. And you're going to see that this is actually almost a teal blue. So remember how I said that sometimes that kind of brown of the maple might make our blue or our green or our yellow look a little bit different. But how's that for a sky? Isn't that cool? We got the coolest picture out of maple syrup. So exciting. All right, now Miss Rosalie is going to show us something super cool that we can eat, because that's our favorite way to use it, right? All right, I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm sorry, Miss Rosalie, I kind of left you a mess. You need me to bring something over and clean that up?
I think it's going to be just fine. Several people in the library today saw how much I matched, so I wanted you to see. All right, so for our snacks, we've actually got a couple things. The first one is something you're going to get to make. We're going to make a pancake in a mug. Oh my gosh. All right, so you got some Bisquick, which is like pancake mix. And then got a scoop of that in my little bowl. Okay, it's about a 1/4 cup. And then I've got about a 1/4 cup of milk. All right, so I've got those things. And I'm gonna pour them in my mug and mix them together. It's a good thing the table's already messy. So I'm just gonna kind of stir it, make sure it's mixed in. I don't want any like lumpy, dry parts of my pancake. There we go, that looks pretty good. All right, so next, you actually cook your pancake in the mug in a microwave, all right? So depending on your microwave, probably like 1 or 2 minutes, and you just don't want it to be shiny. Now, Miss Suzanne helped make my pancake in the microwave for me already, and so I want you to kind of see. It looks kind of like a muffin in there, but it's a pancake and it smells so good. And then you've got your maple syrup, and you get to just pour your syrup on a pancake and eat it up. Oh my gosh. You know, pancakes are my favorite food. All right, and then another snack you got is maple Cheerios. I love Cheerios. And a maple flavor is just so much fun. So you might be able to try and find those at your store too. All right, well, let me get my snack mess out of the way. And Miss Suzanne will be back for the last part of her story.
Okay, everybody, hello again. So far, are we getting sticky and messy? We got paint, and we got sticky, and we had a snack. So now we're gonna do something that I know a lot of people read about. If you read any of the Little House on the Prairie books, It's specifically Little House in the Big Woods, I think. It's one of the things that Laura does in the snow. She takes maple syrup out and pours it on the snow, and then it becomes maple candy. Now, I know when I was a little girl, that's something I really wanted to do. When my daughter was a little girl, that's something she really wanted to do. Even Miss Corinne said that that was something she really wanted to do when she was little too. Is take syrup outside, pour it on the snow, and make candy. So there's a little part in this book that we're going to read, and then we're actually going to try to make the maple syrup candy using snow that I scooped out of my backyard this morning. So we'll see. Let's see what the story says. Okay. After breakfast, Hannah and Hayden smoothed down a mound of freshly fallen snow with brand new rakes. Grandma dribbles warm syrup, which quickly turns into sparkling rivers and ponds into sweet, chewy taffy. Grandma calls only once, "Sugar on snow." The family comes running. They drop to their knees and pick up the taffy. Grandma has forks for Mama and Aunt Hattie, who like to twirl the candy before eating it. Even Grandpa and Grandma kneel beside Hannah and Hayden. The whole Brockwell family grins and laughs. They know that the sugary treat means spring will be coming soon. So see how they're sitting by the syrup that they poured on the snow, and they're eating it? That's so funny. So we're actually going to try to do that. I'm going to have Miss Rosalie and Miss Kimberly come on, and we're going to try to do it all together because I think it's going to take all three of us. Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
I think so. Okay, so I actually got ice as well, and here's the snow. Just so we can put the ice in one container, and we'll put the snow in another container.
We're having a snowstorm in here.
All right, so one of the things we have to do is we actually have to warm up some syrup. So I'm going to take some syrup, and I'm going to just pop over to the microwave there real quick. Or Miss Kimberly's going to do it. I'll just pour in a bunch because maybe we'll try them both.
So how long do you think?
Maybe like, let's try 30 seconds to a minute maybe.
Okay.
All right, so I don't know if you guys know this, but what we're doing is we're going to heat up the syrup. Now heating up the syrup actually kind of like breaks down the sugar a little bit. So it's kind of like an science experiment. And you know how much I love doing science experiments. So this is actually an experiment we're going to do here on air, is we're going to see if we can get this to work. Now if you're at home, the best thing to do to heat up your maple syrup is to heat it up on the stove. And if you have a candy thermometer, you're going to want to have a candy thermometer, and I think it needs to reach 165 degrees on the candy thermometer. That's in the instructions that we sent home. So while that's warming up, we're going to try it, and hopefully we have some maple candy to eat. So we're going to try it on ice though too, because I was really curious if ice would have the same reaction as snow. Just because, you know, not everybody has access to clean snow. And actually, I wasn't even sure if I still had snow left in my backyard. But sure enough, this morning when I was leaving for work, I still had snow left in the backyard. And I just went out and I scooped it. And I made sure it was really far away from wherever the dog goes. So hopefully this works. We'll see.
All right, 45 seconds.
Okay, so we did it 45 seconds in the microwave. Let's see what happens.
It's kind of soaking in.
It's kind of soaking in. We'll give it a minute. Okay, let's try it on the ice. Yeah, on the ice it's just pouring right over the ice. But maybe at the bottom, I don't know, we'll see.
Let's see.
I don't know.
Smells
How
so good.
It does
Smells
smell
so
good.
Do we have a spoon? Oh, maybe grab. We're gonna grab a fork and maybe test it and see.
See if we can twirl
Yeah.
it around like
Twirl it around like Grandma.
Yeah.
And Aunt Hattie.
Grandma.
Yeah, Grandma and Aunt Hattie twirled it around. Let's see. Can you try? cone. So I think the trick is to actually heat it up on the stove. So I would not recommend the microwave.
But you didn't know, but it does smell so good.
Yeah, that's really all it tastes like. It's like a maple syrup snow cone. So that didn't work so good. Let's see what happens with the ice though. I don't know. This just kind of melted the ice. I don't know if you guys can see. Just kind of made a mess. You know, but that's why we tried it on air. We just kind of wanted to see what would happen. You never know.
But we were talking earlier about if we didn't have snow, could we do like shaved ice? Like
Right.
if you had a snow cone. So again, it may not turn into candy that's kind of hard, but it might just be tasty to have a little bit of maple syrup on the snow.
Well, and I used to put, sometimes when I have really good vanilla ice cream, sometimes I'll put a little bit of maple syrup on top of my vanilla ice cream. It's so yummy.
That would be good too.
Maple syrup's good on a lot of stuff. But since this didn't work here, we did send you guys all home some little maple candies. Okay? I'm gonna pop one in right now. These are really good.
It looks like a leaf.
It looks like a little leaf. It's a little maple candy. So that way, at least if this experiment doesn't work for you guys at home, you can at least try the maple candy. That's really good.
It is good. Now we're gonna talk funny.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you. Thank you so much for joining us on this maple syrup program day. I hope you learned something about maple syrup. It's actually a lot of fun if you ever get a chance to go to a maple syrup farm or tap trees for maple syrup. It's a really cool thing to do. So that's all we have for you. Then Miss Rosalie has something to talk about. I almost forgot. Our next program, speaking of which, our next program that's coming up is something Miss Rosalie knows more about, so I'm going to let her talk about it, and we'll see you guys later. Bye!
So in your maple syrup kit, there is a sheet, and one side is a chart with a picture of a lion and a lamb, and then the other side kind of explains what lion weather looks like and what lamb weather looks like. And we'd love for you to help chart the weather that you're seeing by your house for the month of March. And then on March 18th, we will have a program about the weather, and we're going to learn about lions and lambs. It's really exciting, so see you then!